Impeachment probe turning against Dems. That is the topic of today's op-ed live. So Fox News came out with this five hours ago that Michigan Democratic Representative Brenda Lawrence, a prominent supporter of Kamala Harris, who has previously supported the impeachment inquiry into President Trump, abruptly announced Sunday that she no longer saw any value in the process because she knows now this whole thing is a hoax, it's fabricated. The Ukrainian scandal quid pro quo was done by Joe Biden, not by President Donald Trump, who did the right thing, by the way, by asking the Ukrainian government to investigate Joe Biden, whether there was a quid pro quo that caused the investigation of the Ukrainian gas company, Burisma, to be stopped all of a sudden, okay? And she also called for her fellow Democrats to throw their support behind a symbolic censure resolution. Okay? She wants other members to follow her too. Lawrence's about face came as polls have shown, this is important, polls have shown that independents are souring. You can't win without the independents, right? Independents are souring on the idea of impeaching and removing Trump from office, including in critical battleground states like Wisconsin, even as House Democrats aggressively presented their focus group-tested bribery case against the president over the past 2 weeks. So you know that the Democrats had a focus group study. That's why they changed from quid pro quo to bribery. Because many Americans, they don't understand what quid pro quo is. It's Latin, so they wanted a term that can have a much more damaging and negative effect to President Trump. But it's not working. Even that is not working. What is a bribery here? There is no bribery. This is how Democrats are acting. They're acting like spoiled brats with this impeachment probe thing. So Lawrence said this on Sunday on a Michigan radio program. Michigan is, by the way, a state that Trump carried in 2016. We are so close to an election. Okay? And she knows that Trump is not going to get convicted by the GOP-controlled Senate. This is what she said. I will tell you, sitting here knowing how divided this country is, I don't see the value of taking him out of the office because he only has 1 year. But I do believe he's going to win re-election. But in a landslide, by the way, much wider margin than the 2016 election. Okay? I will tell you, sitting here knowing how divided this country is, I don't see the value of taking him out of office. But I do see the value of putting down a marker saying his behavior is not acceptable. What behavior is she talking about? When people are saying Trump lies all the time, I want to know the specific examples, or when people are saying that his behavior is problematic, I want to know which kind of behavior. When I ask people, the Democrats or the liberals or the people who got brainwashed by the mainstream media, if I ask them specific questions like, what kind of lie did Trump say so far? I want to know. And I'll teach that individual whether that's a lie or hyperbole, because those two are very different things, okay? In my view, Trump is probably the most honest president in the United States, and the most transparent, by the way. He gives so many Q&As and interviews to the media. Have you seen Barack Obama give this many interviews or Q&A sessions? I bet not. And she continues, it's in violation of the oath of office of a president of the United States. Really? Bad behavior? Violation of the oath? And we have to be clear that you cannot use your power of the presidency to withhold funds to get a foreign country to investigate an American citizen for your own personal gain. There's no way around that. No, she's not understanding this whole thing clearly. Okay? Joe Biden got the Ukrainian attorney general fired when the prosecutor was just about to have a one-on-one interview with Hunter Biden. The day before, according to The Hill, he got fired the day before. He wasn't officially fired, but pretty much, he was fired, okay? The actual firing took place probably like a couple months later, but he was pretty much done because the Ukrainian president said, hey, you gotta, lay off. You gotta lay off your hands. You can't investigate Hunter Biden. That's pretty much what he said, So Lawrence continued, I want him censured. I want it on the record that the House of Representatives did their job and they told this president and any president coming behind him that this is unacceptable behavior and under our Constitution. We will not allow it. I am a Democrat, but I'm an independent United States of American citizen. Really? Really? This is unacceptable behavior under our Constitution. Where does it say that? Where can I find that in the Constitution? Because I don't think this belongs here. I don't think what Trump did is an impeachable offense. So recent surveys indicate that even Democratic voters are losing interest in the impeachment. Okay? That's not good. That's not good. And by the way, Lawrence, she occupies a safely Democratic district, but she's even saying that because she has been getting information from her poll people. Hey, things are not turning well. You might lose your seat if you keep on pushing this ridiculous stuff. Okay? 50% of independents questioned in an NPR-PBS Marist poll conducted November 11th through 15th did not support impeaching and removing Trump from office, with just 42% backing such a move. Okay. The first week in October, the support stood at 45%, but now it's going down. And a Gallup poll conducted the first 2 weeks of November indicated that 45% of independent voters supported impeaching and removing the president, with 53% opposing the move. Okay? That's a switch from October when the previous Gallup survey put the split at 53% supporting the impeachment and 44% against. It flipped. It's not a good sign for the Democrats. I told you this whole thing is a hoax, nothing but a hoax. It's the same thing as the Russia scandal scheme. Okay? By the way, the Russia collusion scheme was fabricated inside Ukraine. And who said that? One of the most righteous people out there, politicians, Rudy Giuliani. You know, many people, the mainstream media try to portray him like a clown now, since he's so close with President Trump. Rudy Giuliani, he said he got evidence that the Christopher Steele dossier, you know, the whole Russia-Moscow thing, the golden shower thing, that was not even actually written by Christopher Steele, that there were some other people involved. And it was written, that Steele dossier was formed in Ukraine. So there is a huge Ukrainian scandal going on. The Russia scandal, there's nothing there. It's just fabricated nonsense. But the Ukrainian scandal, that's the biggest thing that happened in the 2016 election cycle. And it's not even just Fox News or The Hill reporting that. It was Politico that reported it on January 11th of 2017. It's still there. I can't believe they didn't take it down yet. 'Cause with such a liberal, left-wing media like Politico, I thought that they would take it down, because they sometimes do that. You know, Washington Post, sometimes they get rid of articles on the website that might be more advantageous to the Republicans or Trump, but it's still there. You know, I give them credit for that. It's a very long and thorough article. And Republicans could also use a Senate trial to turn the tables and damage Democrats politically should the House vote to impeach. Of course, why? Because the Senate side, they can bring in Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Adam Schiff for lying in front of Congress. He has immunity, so that's why he's just lying flat out. And probably they can bring, all the people that I just mentioned. The Ukrainian attorney general who was fired then, right? They can call them. And probably they can also call Glenn Simpson, Christopher Steele, whether they fabricated these bunch of nonsense in Ukraine. Okay? And probably the political reporters who wrote that article too. Who knows? With more witness testifying, more sound bites would likely emerge to help Republicans and the Trump campaign argue that the impeachment was politically motivated theater. Okay? The Washington Examiner also noted that support for impeachment fell sharply. Okay? And by the way, there's another bombshell that came out today, that FISA report drop could scramble Trump impeachment effort. When is it coming out? When is the Inspector General report coming out? It's coming out on December 9th. And the New York Times last week tried to cover it already because they're trying to change the narrative, spin the story that there's nothing, it's not a big deal. Their article said the FISA report, the IG report, it's going to include that the people there, the FBI, rank and file people, when they investigated this, they had no political agenda. Oh, really? What did Peter Strzok and Lisa Page say to each other? I think it was Peter Strzok or was it Lisa Page? It said this, that Hillary Clinton will beat Trump 100 million to 0. And I can smell these smelly people from Walmart. Isn't that some political agenda? And they wanted to have an insurance policy against Trump just in case he wins. That there's always a possibility out there. It's all nonsense. New York Times is nothing but a corrupt newspaper that brainwashes people, that panders to the left. They're nothing but a marketing wing of the Democratic Party. That's just reality right now. So for allies of President Trump, Fox News reported this, the timing could be perfect. I'm talking about the timing of the IG report being released. And by the way, Michael Horowitz, he's going to have a hearing on December 11th. No matter how the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act review judges the actions of law enforcement with regard to Trump campaign associate surveillance, the report will give Trump the opportunity to shift focus once more to the Russia witch hunt. And as he has before, attempt to link that to Democrats' escalating impeachment inquiry over his dealings with Ukraine. This is what Trump said last week on Fox and Friends. What they have coming out is historic. I believe it's going to be historic. It's going to be a game-changing moment. I believe that, the IG report. Even though Michael Horowitz does not have the power to prosecute people, John Durham is, the U.S. District Attorney from Connecticut, John Durham. He's investigating who fabricated this whole Russia nonsense. Where did it all start? Okay. And Trump said he believed that it goes all the way to the top. I believe he's talking about Obama. He didn't mention the name specifically. He did in the past, but not in this particular interview. So Steve Ducey, the host for Fox and Friends, he asked, are you talking about Obama? And Trump didn't answer it. I believe he was involved. Because why? The text messages between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page dictates that. If you have common sense, your automatic thought stream would go there. Unless you're fake news. Okay? Previewing his rhetorical line of attack, Trump said this was spying on my campaign. This was an overthrow attempt at the presidency. So the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about wiretap anymore, doesn't want to talk about spying. But I remember 2 years ago when Trump talked about that Obama wiretapped him in Trump Tower, the media criticized Trump like crazy. Don't you remember that? Like for weeks. Where are those media people now? Where are they? Trump is poised to argue anew that he has been the victim of unfair investigation since he was a candidate for president. I believe that too. And allies say he'll be able to hammer home those claims at a time when he'll need to keep any wavering Republicans by his side should impeachment head to the Senate for trial. Trump said he wants a trial. He wants to prolong this investigation to show to the American people how corrupt this whole process is. And the Democrats, they're doing nothing but claiming that that Trump people did what they have been doing. The collusion, the Democrats did it with Russia. It was the Hillary people who did with the collusion with Russia. Not Trump, even with Ukraine. They have a bunch of ties with Ukraine. Okay? That's so heinous about this whole thing. They did all the bad things that the Russia collusion thing, it was happened in the Democratic side, the left side. The Ukraine scandal also done by the left. But they have this weapon called the mainstream media covering up for them. And these papers and websites and TV stations claim that it was Trump people that did all this, which is nonsense. They're still suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, and I do believe 2020 will be the year of the boomerang. It will be the year of boomerang. This whole thing is going to go back to them. And I think the Democrats will be left in shambles. I really believe the Democratic Party will be left in shambles. I just feel that it's going to that direction. You know, I'm the person who correctly predicted that Donald Trump will win the presidency when the day he announced his candidacy back in June 16th of 2015. I predicted back in 2009, 2010, when he started doing interviews, especially with Greta Van Susteren, on the record, and also, I think that was a show that Trump came out the most, and then also at Fox and Friends. When he was talking about issues, I felt like, man, this guy is really talking about all the issues that are important and that resonates to middle America. And what happened? He won, you know. So I think I'm a pretty good prognosticator. I think I'm good at predicting about political events. And I think that's going to happen. I think Trump is going to win in a landslide. I think the Republicans will take both the Senate and the House because of all these nonsense that is done by the mainstream media and the Democrats. And by the way, even the Democrats admit that the mainstream media is on their side. So Horowitz has been investigating alleged FISA abuses related to the Justice Department and FBI surveillance of Trump associates during the 2016 campaign for more than a year and a half. And by the way, Attorney General William Barr, what did he say? He said spying did happen. And how did the mainstream media act when he said that? They're saying, oh, William Barr believes in Trump's conspiracy theory. Look, if there are facts and evidence, there is no conspiracy theory, okay? The Russia collusion thing, there was no facts and evidence. That's why that is a conspiracy theory. You got to know the difference. So one House Republican source involved in impeachment proceedings told Fox News on Monday that the president is likely to seize on the findings to argue to lawmakers and the public that he has been unfairly targeted. This is what the source said. It will be damning evidence that government officials really were trying to sabotage Trump, which is what he's been saying all along, including during the impeachment debate. And last week, multiple news reports said that Horowitz, the Inspector General, Horowitz had found evidence that an FBI lawyer manipulated a key investigative document related to the FBI's secretive surveillance of former Trump campaign advisor, Carter Page. Isn't this big news? By the way, CNN broke this story. So, I don't know, probably CNN people, they're panicking and say, hey, we can't, if we even lie about this, we will be considered the epitome of fake news. So we gotta cover this correctly. You know, probably there are some righteous people there. Who knows? Okay, let's check out some news headlines and Twitter feeds. So Trump tweeted this: the Democrats are getting hit and slammed on impeachment. It is getting less and less popular by the day. Let's move on. So Breitbart reported this: Democrats' worst nightmare. Polls show 34% of black likely voters approve of Donald Trump. Let's move on. Rust Belt voters, this came out from the New York Post. Rust Belt voters on Trump, I'd vote for him again in a heartbeat. It's a very lengthy article, and the people in the Rust Belt, they're very excited about Trump. Why? Because he brought back 600,000 manufacturing jobs. By the way, you're not going to see that on the mainstream media, too. Let's move on to the next page. Trump tweeted this: this is a great and well-researched book on Justice Kavanaugh. The Ruth Marcus book is badly written and researched. Disaster. So many incorrect facts. Fake news, just like the Washington Post. So Molly Hemingway wrote that book, and I highly recommend all of you to check that out. And you'll see how evil the mainstream media was to try to sabotage this good man's reputation. Let's move on to the next page. Larry Elder tweeted this: support for impeachment collapses among black and Hispanic voters. Let's move on. You have Adam Schiff, wide eyes there. The Epoch Times tweeted this: I feel like I've been called. It's the role I've been pushed into. So former White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee said she's been called to run for office and has indicated that she is considering a run for governor of Arkansas in 2022. Let's move on. Oh, that's the last. Well, that's our show for today. Our show is not about left or right, it's about right or wrong. To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking subscribe. Thanks for tuning in.